Alright, serve alarm, and this is Fun Facts, episode 8. The long-awaited Fun Facts episode 8. Haven't done one of these since last year. So, today I'm going to talk about something different related to alarm systems. Instead of the technical end, I'm going to talk about something related to the business end of alarm systems. Alright? Maybe I'll be able to get out of this parking lot. Jeez, criminals. Alright. Anyway, the business end of fire systems, okay? So essentially what I'm going to talk about today is how a fire alarm system is installed in a building. Not from the technical side, but from the business side of the situation. How that all works. And I have a new camera mount. I actually I glued a cell phone case to a suction cup and made my own camera mount on the windshield. So it should work a lot better. It's up high too, so less engine noise, hopefully. Anyway, so the business end of the problem. Essentially what I'm going to talk about, so essentially what happens is a building is planned out by an architect. They design it, they work with the customer to plan and approve the plan, does the customer like the plan, stuff like that. And then the architect sends the plans to a contractor, general contractor, such as a construction company, and the construction company then gets bids from electrical companies, plumbing companies, system integration companies, and this includes alarm companies. Oftentimes an alarm company is also subcontracted from an electrical company. So it's like a whole chain of command here. So sometimes the general contractor goes directly to the alarm company, and other times it's contracted to an electrical company. The electrical company subcontracts the alarm company, so you're actually working for the electrical company. So anyway, so then what happens is the bid process. The contractor or the subcontractor who wants the system to be installed generates what's called specifications, bid specifications, where essentially they look around and let me finish this after I merge with the interstate, okay? Hold on, please. Oh, look, a school bus. Pine Tree Academy. It's a private school. Private school, though, that doesn't have a lot of students. That's why the bus is so small. Anyway. So, after the contractor or the subcontractor, they generate specifications, which is a very, very, very long document containing floor plans of the building and general and specific specifications and requirements for the system. Now this can have stuff like the building's design, the requirement that every room have a strobe light in it, or stuff like, even sometimes I've seen specific brand requirements. Like I've actually seen one that said, approved brands are Simplex and Notifier. I saw one like that, and the company I work for got the bid for that one, which is good. beat out Simplex. Anyway, so the specs are distributed to alarm companies who want to bid on this project, and those alarm companies have a certain amount of time after that to take the specifications, look over them, come up with a plan, come up with a price, and bid that price. And usually the lowest bidder is who gets the job to install the the alarm system. Ow. I just burped. It burns. Anyway, so usually it's the lowest bidder that gets the installation. Now, after the lowest bidder gets the installation, the next step moves on to how the installation is done. Frequently, what is done in the industry is not what a lot of alarm people might expect. I'm sure a lot of alarm people expect an alarm company gets the parts, does the installation, does the programming, does the maintenance. That's not exactly what happens with installations. What really happens most frequently with installations is what's called parts and smarts, where you bid the system, and the system, you win the bid, but instead of sending technicians from your company to do the installation, you ship all the parts to an electrical contractor. And now, parts of smarts generally happens when you have an alarm company subcontracted by an electrical contractor. So what happens is the parts are shipped to the electrical contractor. The contractor does the installation themselves, everything. They get the parts, they do the installation. And then the smarts end of it is the alarm company then comes in and ties everything together at the panel, programs it, and commissions the system. Does the final inspection and testing, gets the system ready to be online. With approval of the local authority having jurisdiction, of course. So, that's what parts and smarts is. Now, what happens another time is when an alarm company is directly a subcontractor, they're not behind another electrical contractor. The alarm company then subcontracts an electrical company to do the installation. Reason for this is, with the exception of really big ones like Siemens or Simplex, most alarm companies don't have the manpower to do these huge installations. So they subcontract an electrical contractor who does have the manpower to do this. And that's how it works. So, once the system has been installed, they then have to do what's called finals, where the authority having jurisdiction comes to the job site, they do a walk around, they inspect the system to make sure it is up to their specifications, whatever the authority of having jurisdiction wants the system to be. Customer does this too, the architect, the general contractor, they all do inspections to make sure it was put in properly and to spec. And if not, you're in trouble. You're in real big trouble if it's not. Anyway, after that's been done, it then comes down to functional testing, where every single device in the system is functionally tested. This is similar to a yearly inspection. However, it's more involved as you have to test everything. Okay? You have to test everything. Sometimes with yearly inspections, you only have to do visuals on some components, but this is a little bit different because this is a commissioning test. Once the commissioning test is completed, you have to sign a whole bunch of paperwork saying that, yes, we can use the system now, it's ready to go. And then basically you hand over the keys to the customer, sort of, like, well, you know what I mean by hand over the keys, I'm sure, but then you're done. And hopefully, if you're a good enough company, you'd also quote them for inspection and maintenance contracts to get that done, which is good. So, now, speaking of inspections and maintenance, the question from the last video, I want to answer it now. The question had to do with backup power. On a fire system, there's a certain number of hours that a system has to be able to be powered by batteries on standby. Standby meaning the system is normal. And there's a certain number of minutes, minimum, that the system needs to be powered on alarm power. And there's a third requirement for a minimum number of minutes. The system needs to be powered on alarm power for voice evacuation systems. So here are the answers. The answer to the first question was a minimum of 24 hours on standby power. The answer to the second question was a minimum of 5 minutes on alarm power with horn strokes. The answer to the third question is a minimum of 15 minutes on alarm power with voice evacuation. And those requirements are in the NFPA 72 codes, and they can be found in appendixes and chapters of different alarm panel manuals. So it's really easy to find this answer, if you ever forgot. But now you got this video to look at too, so anyway. So, that's pretty much essentially the business end of how alarm systems are bid and installed and stuff. Now, this process also happens for major changes to systems. Not just maintenance, I mean major changes, like if you had to add on to the building and you needed to put more on the system, the same process happens. But oftentimes, if the original company that installed the system is still in business, they get priority because it's their system. That's what usually happens, but sometimes it goes to somebody else. So it all depends. And that's really pretty much it for the business end of an alarm system installation. What goes on between the companies, money involved, the bid process, simplified version of the bid process. The bid process is actually more complicated than that, but I was just giving a general simplified overview of the bid process. Oh, look, an ambulance. Anyway, so now for a question of the day. Alright, what should I think of for a question of the day? Okay, it'll relate to the next video. The next video I'm going to be talking about enunciators and enunciator data and stuff like that. Specifically, I'll be talking about the most common way that enunciators are connected to panels and something called notifier ACS. So, the question for the next video is going to be, what is the most common type of data bus that is used to connect enunciators to panels? And it is not RS-232, okay? So the question is, the most common type of data bus to connect enunciators to panels, what is the name of this data bus? So, that's it for Fun Facts Episode 8, the long-awaited one. So, have a great day, everybody. I thought I said stop recording.